Hi, Dr. Pedicolis here with more secrets of life and death. Of course, life is changing. A wise man once said to me, everything changes, everything's impermanent. He was an author of several Buddhist books, and he told me this 2 weeks before he died. And we are going through major changes right now. Not small incremental changes. Hi, thank you, Bree, for joining. Not small incremental changes, but actually changes that are profound and deep. When it's an environmental change, I like to see it as the universe, or certainly the earth, kind of nudging us to say it's time to rebalance. And indeed, that's what we're required to do. Species literally have to adapt or they die. Human beings have a choice. We can get motivated and start to change, or we can just get by. Now, the interesting thing in the news is that, thank you, that we have actually, the pollution, the CO2 pollution on this world has actually dropped more in the last month than it has dropped at any time, thank you, Rose, for joining, than at any time during the efforts of nations to curb our CO2 pollution. So when we're really motivated, we really, thank you, we can really change. Of course, this is a temporary change, but it's also a wake-up call. And that's what I invite you to look at this particular COVID scare, this COVID-19 scare, as an opportunity to change in positive ways. First, I want to talk about how we respond on a physiological level. Change is scary. Oh my gosh, they're closing down stores and businesses. And I was out today, we had to pick up some eggs, and there was nobody in the streets. It was like doomsday. It was just the visceral experience of the change in the environment is shocking to the system. And I want you to appreciate, hi, thank you, that your body is actually responding to this. And you need to recognize that and pay attention and give your body a certain amount of appreciation. And also to be a little wise, because what happens when change, especially big change, happens, is that it triggers a survival response in these bodies of fight, flee, or freeze. And maybe you have seen some examples. Hi, Alicia, thank you for joining. Maybe you've seen some examples of this. The fight is the running off to the store and grabbing all the toilet paper and all the water supplies, sort of like, I'm going to get it first, I'm going to take care of myself. Or somebody else sort of trying to hoard things. Or, I mean, even myself, I'm in the store and I'm thinking, well, what else do I need? That kind of hoarding mentality that primates have, not primates, just primates, but mammals have, of protecting themselves for a time of scarcity. And right now, the visual cues that we're getting feels like a time of scarcity, of uncertainty, and not knowing how to operate. So fight's one response. Freeze is another response where you don't do anything. You just sort of hunker down and hope for it to go away. That's the kind of response that allows cobras to gobble up their prey. And then there's the flee response, which is to distract, to indulge in activities that take our mind off of it. And what I'm inviting is a higher level response, a response that takes advantage of this extra time that we've suddenly been given. It's kind of like when I was on the East Coast as a child, we would get a snow day and it would open up this space. But instead of there being snow out there, there's this time to reflect, to change our habitual patterns and look at what we're doing and look at ourselves. I'm inviting you to go deep. As a psychosocial analyst, having worked with people around grief and loss for almost 20 years, I can tell you from my personal experience that profound change, it's not just difficult, it's also an opportunity for transformation. It provides you with, hi, thank you for joining, it provides you with the motivation and the impetus to change. Of course, I have seen plenty of people who react to significant loss in the standard protection circle the wagons mode, such as just staying in the past and, hi, thank you, staying in the past and trying to hold on to what's lost. And if you've lost somebody to death, that's difficult to do, and yet I've seen women who have enshrined their deceased spouses and just played tribute to them and stayed in that role of the grieving widow. And then there are other people who stayed in the present and settled for how things are. Well, I will just grin and bear it. And then there are other people who do what I call replacement. They try and replace as quickly as they can what was before with something new to distract themselves. Again, I'm inviting you to do something even more profound, to take advantage of this time to go deep and find out about yourself. We don't often have time to do that. And oftentimes we don't want to do that because we are so busy taking care of daily needs, and really maybe it's kind of scary to go deep and find out what it is that is who you really are, what your true purpose is, to do a life makeover. Hi, thank you for joining. I made my own life makeover after my first husband left me. Oh my gosh, I guess it was 30 years ago. And I didn't want to, but I had no choice. And fortunately, the universe sort of pushed me in the right direction to make that changeover, that makeover. And that's what I'm inviting you to do. And I'm inviting you to do that on this 5-day makeover challenge that I'm starting on March 30th. So you have almost 2 weeks to get prepared, but go ahead and join my Facebook group, which is called Live Your Brilliance. Join it now so that you get the challenge information. I'm going to be sending out videos every day for 5 days to give you information on what you need to know about yourself, what are your blocks, and what is your vision. So it's going to be a really, really juicy and very valuable series of exercises and deep dive into who you are. In addition, I'm going to have some workbooks that, worksheets, not books, sheets that you can follow to go deeper, to ask yourself the deeper questions so that you can start to really utilize this special time for your own change. And I have to tell you that right now, astrologically, this is the time. This is a huge opportunity for shifting. We have both, hi, thank you for joining. We have both Aries as the moon for that month, and also the sun sign, which is the sign of starting something new. So I encourage you to do this. I want to check my notes. So biologists will tell you that when the environment changes, species change. It is, in fact, the only time evolution really happens, is when there is pressure to change. And I'm inviting you to change, and you're like, well, there's this virus scare. Why would that be any good for me to do some kind of internal inventory? Why would it do me any good to figure out what my life purpose is? Why would that be valuable? Well, let me tell you, the reason is that we are all part of the solution. We can't all be Greta Thunberg and go out and man the barricades. That may not be our calling, or maybe that is your calling. I believe but each one of us have our own specific gifts. And when we step fully into our empowerment, when we step fully into our purpose and we share our gifts with the world, that's when we're going to see the real change. So that's why I'm inviting you to join this Makeover Challenge. It's an adventure to find out who you really are and what you're meant to do. Maybe you know who you are and what you're meant to do, but you have things that are getting in the way. We're going to look at that too. What's holding you back? And then really dial in your vision of what you want to leave as a legacy. The virus is hitting us at the most significant level for human beings. It is bringing up the specter of death and of isolation at the same time. And yes, this is true. Human beings, their worst fears are death and being alone. And we are asked to stay at home and be in place and not go out and not socialize, which is going to work for a few days, and then we're going to start getting what they call cabin fever. I know all about cabin fever. I lived in Minnesota for 2 years, and it's real. People start to go a little stir crazy when they stay indoors all the time, when they do not connect with other people, because the fact of the matter is we're social beings and we're used to connecting with others. Now, thank goodness that we live in this time of technology when we can actually connect with each other over the internet, over these amazing devices, over this video stuff. Something that was just a thought 20 or 30 years ago is now real. And having used this, hi, thank you for joining, Alicia, using these methods of communication, I have found, I've been using these for years, it's not as good as touch, but it's so much better than the telephone or even a letter, because you get to see the other person. So all you need to do is click on the link in my comments section, or if you don't get time to do that, go ahead and search in Facebook for Live Your Brilliance. That's the name of the group. It's open, but you do have to join. And I'm going to be posting videos throughout the next 2 weeks before the challenge to kind of warm you up to the sort of things that you're going to want, that we're going to explore together in those 5 days. Let me see if there's anything else. Right. So here's some things to keep in mind. Hi, Andy. Thank you for watching. So here's some things to keep in mind. You want to recognize that your body has its own agenda and it's going to have its own response. And you want to have some compassion for this body. It's scary out there. We are seeing things that we have never, ever seen before. And so that's a shock. Now, of course, people went through World War II, and that was pretty shocking too. But most of us, a lot of us, have not lived through that, or we were very young and we're not directly exposed to that. So this is a whole new life experience. So be kind to your body. Number 2, pay attention to how you're thinking. What you think your body believes. So I'm inviting you to think of this as an amazing opportunity. The universe calling for your change, for your development, your evolution, your growth. And step into it and enjoy that. And so realize that this is a shakeup. It's a time we're forced to take a pause, to say, okay, we can get ourselves busy and we can binge watch TV, or we can bake a lot of pies and just sort of ignore everything. Or we can actually utilize this. We can check in and say, well, how do I feel about this? How do I feel about my life? How do I feel about death? How do I feel about isolation? Be curious. There is a lot of gold a lot of possibility. This is a gateway to evolution. So the most important thing is, since you can't go out and join people out there in the world face to face, this is the second best thing. Join this community, get support, get guidance, and maybe even get a breakthrough. That's all I have to share today. Join the community, live your brilliance, and I look forward to seeing you there. Bye for now, and be brilliant.